kick it. Go, Dan. Beautiful. Oh,
Lovely.
the sheer beauty. I gotta tell you. What's happening, Dan?
Not a whole lot here. Playing guitar. Curious about what key we were just playing in, because there's a
E minor.
E minor. Okay.
Sorry, I should have yelled that out today.
No, it's okay. I just the entire time I'm like, G kind of works.
E minor pentatonic would have been the would
Yeah.
have been the route there. Sorry.
Yeah, I went to a D pentatonic. I'm like, it's kind of there. Tried A, and it's like, okay, maybe. And it was like E, because we started on E, thought maybe E. It's like, not quite yet.
Yeah.
But then G tended to work.
There you go. If you, G major or
Yeah, G major. Yeah,
it would have worked.
As we discussed last week, I do everything in terms of majors because it's easy to remember one thing.
That's right. One shape.
One shape.
Yeah. Yeah, there was one point where I was trying to. It sounded pretty cool. I did like another little mixolydian one in there. Yep.
Fancy stuff. Fancy stuff.
Yeah, once again, I was listening to a band at the gym this morning called Clutch. I was listening to their album Robots. Hang on a minute. I gotta pull it up now because I can't remember.
It's like me. Who's your favorite band? I don't remember if I listen to music or not.
Yeah, it was a good album. They're kind of like a heavy rock. A lot of awesome pentatonic riffs,
Yeah.
Let's see here. Robot Hive / Exodus
Okay, that sounds...
is the name of the album. Good album. Highly recommend it.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, they're pretty. I've listened to a good chunk. I just recently started listening to them, and it was one of those things where you're listening to this band, you're like, dude, how have I not heard these guys before? And they're really good. At least I dig them.
Yeah.
Maybe not everybody will like it, but
I find that my tastes just keep changing over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Used to like all the hardcore heavy metal stuff and emo. Now I'm more of a math rock type of guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that can be fun. I was messing with this week actually. You know how you see these guys playing acoustic guitars and they're like doing this like
tapping stuff.
They're doing all this percussive stuff on it.
Which you can basically only do on an acoustic.
Yeah. Well, you can kind of get the...
Let's see.
What was that? Hang on a minute. There was a... let's see if I can do it.
Is it Cliffs of Dover?
But you see, I've seen guys do all wild picking stuff, and I don't know if it's like I don't know if it's a mix of them doing like a flamenco thing like this.
Yeah.
Or if they're actually doing that, where you're kind of like
sweet picking with the thumb.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing all 4 fingers.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So for those that want to get like who want to get a close up here, I'm doing this. Of course, the mic's in the way. Nothing's easy. So it's basically. Either that or you're doing a thing where you're going, all your fingers are raking across the strings where that's a flamenco thing. So you're going, best way to practice this, 1 finger at a time, make sure your volume's even. Well, first of all, mute the strings. Mute it. And go. So do the pinky first. Did your face.
How do you just move the pinky and not the other finger?
Here, watch. You'll get it eventually. It's tough to start it to get.
I'll work on that.
But that's a flamenco thing, man. They call it rasgueado.
I was just getting not the PEMDAS fingering. What do they call it? The not Pink Floyd. The Travis style picking. I just started getting that down.
But yeah, that's I don't know. I've seen guys do all sorts of things out here.
Have you heard Neon by John Mayer? Sounds like chicken picking.
That's a little arrangement I made.
Okay.
It sounds all right on here, but I do it on the acoustic.
Yeah,
and
I bet it sounds really good on the acoustic. Like you get the whole percussive in there.
Yeah, but I started messing with that because
it's like beatboxing with a guitar.
Yeah, that's like a whole thing now. People beating on and slapping and doing harmonics on the guitar. And I had guys back home that were back where I'm from that are super into it. And, they're coming out with songs and stuff and recordings of them doing it. And I think it's cool, Andy McKee type stuff. My big thing is, I don't like messing with alternate tunings.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if I can't do it in standard or drop D.
It's not worth learning, which is part of the reason that, Honky Tonk Women by the Rolling Stones. Fun song. but they use like open G tuning, and it's too much work to get it into tune. And then you got to learn the song on top of that. So
yeah. It's almost like you're better off trying to figure out a version in standard, you know.
Yeah, but it doesn't quite sound it.
Which Keith Richards, I think he's a dope player. The dude has like some stuff. Yeah. Yeah, but he did this thing where he's like, what did he do? The 5-string guitar trick. Have you seen that?
Mm-mm.
He was doing a video on YouTube. He was being interviewed, and they were asking him about I think it was the 5-string guitar trick, or maybe the 4. I don't know. But basically, he goes, "Oh, well, you just take your E string off and you play this," and he's like. Which, for me, now and again, I will play with a pick. I do like playing with picks. I play a lot with my fingers. I'm not taking my E string off because basically he just wasn't using it, and he felt like, well, you just get rid of it so you don't, like, you know, it's not in the way of you hitting it hard. But I'm just like, well, you could just go like... Oh, sorry.
Half the time I play, I just mute this E string anyway.
I just was like, there's a way to do this. I mean, I get it. Like, you gotta kind of control what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
He would just get rid of his E string and play stuff on the A.
I'd just say we get rid of the E and the B string. Just play a 4-string guitar. That's a octave above a bass.
That was basically, I guess, what he was doing. I have no idea.
They're famous.
Yeah.
They
and then
made waves.
Wild Horses. I don't know if it's not in tune or what the deal is with that song, but if you try to play it with the recording, something sounds off.
So I think we had this discussion. So Red Hot Chili Peppers, their song, it's either Road Trippin' or something.
Yeah.
They found out how to tune it in perfect E.
Oh, yeah, we did talk about this. Yeah, tune the guitar.
If you play any other key, it doesn't quite work. But if you play an E, I think it is, the way they tune it, it's like mathematically perfect for E. Whereas like normally when you tune the guitar, it minimizes error across all keys.
Right.
So, which it makes it sound a little bit more natural that way. It gets rid of some of the what do you call it? The not distortion, the
sustain.
No, it's when two notes basically clash.
Frequency.
I don't know. It'll come to me when I'm sleeping tonight. But yeah, so I mean, it's cool. It's got a cool effect. It's a lot of work, but
I think that was
getting paid to do it.
I think that was Keith Richards' thing. You know how every guitar player kind of has a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I come from more of the. Now I'm curious. I don't think Hendrix messed with a lot of tunings, other than he would always tune a half step down.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people tune half a step down because the guitar in E is pretty nice, but then I feel like a lot of males' vocals don't reach that A, whereas the A flat's a little bit more natural for a lot of men.
Yeah. So Hendrix, I think he just played always half step down, or maybe standard, either way.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I know a lot of people that do that.
He his playing though, like I mean, he would be going nuts on the whammy bar and everything, and then he'd just quickly tune in between songs and keep going. I guess I just kind of gravitate to that more than I'm gonna sit there and tune the guitar to G. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I saw a guy in concert, and I think he has some sort of quick latch release or something
Yeah.
that'll detune the guitar, and then he can like
Yeah.
bend it in and out of tune.
Yeah. Eddie Van Halen had a system installed on his Floyd Rose on his bridge, where it would pop out, and the thing would drop you perfectly whole step down, and you were in drop D.
Yeah, this guy was literally tuning, like doing this instead of like sliding. He was doing the tuner.
Oh, you know what they have is tuners that have a stopping point.
Okay.
And you can take it, the tuner, tune to the note you want, put like a lock or something on, tune back to the note you want, and it'll literally stop. Like you can't turn it anywhere more between those two.
Okay.
They got them for banjos. Banjos got them a lot.
Okay. Yeah, this was a country music band. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
I was watching him do it. I'm like, I don't know how he's not just breaking a string as he just goes along.
No, I watched a banjo player. Because those are popular on banjos. He was sitting there picking and just was like, like doing stuff with it was pretty awesome. But I'm sure they made him for guitar too, because the guitar is,
Yeah, this guy's playing guitar, but he may have just been so good at hearing it.
That could be too.
He could do it while playing.
The beginning of Iron Man, Black Sabbath. I think I feel like Tony Iommi was doing it with his tuner though.
He was?
I think so.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know.
Sounds a lot better with distortion. I mean, I guess it makes more sense to me to just bend it.
Yeah, maybe that's what he was doing. I don't know.
It's definitely wrong. No DMA or whatever, DCMA.
But yeah, I mean that's. I've seen those locking tuners; those are pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But back on the tuning thing, yeah, I guess I just like sticking to standard, and I like maybe I'll do a half step. Half step does not, especially. I got 12 gauge strings on here, and when I go down to half step, it does make it easier to bend stuff.
Oh, yeah. I have 9 gauge strings on there. It's just already easy to bend them.
I just wanted to know what the heavy sounded like, because that was a Stevie Ray Vaughan thing, you know?
Yeah.
And he would play really hard, and he had super thick strings on, and he would get that. Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But just because I like that sound on a Strat. But yeah, it is a workout, man.
My 9s would wear me out. My 10s even more so, and so just
like my third string is just. Have you held this? Have you played this? You want to try it?
Sure.
Let's try it. Dan's gonna try 12 gauge strings.
Do you want
everybody? You can put your guitar here.
Okay. Do you want me to just plug into my pedal board or just stay with yours?
Probably
be better just stay with yours.
Yeah, just stay with mine. It'll reach.
I'm just trying not to knock things over, create a mess.
So, try. Whoop. Bang! Right into the mic. You good?
I think so.
All right. Oh, geez, I'm like on.
You're like all sorts of wrapped up. You got a thick cable.
Yep, thick cables.
I can feel it. Poor Pinky.
So try bending the third. The third is kind of a tough thing to.
I can't quite get that full step up.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel it.
But this is like I use.
Feels like I'm playing my acoustic.
Yeah, that's the same gauge as an acoustic. Only the third isn't wound. It's like, and that's where I think it gets you. The winding on a string creates flexibility, right? So it actually it'll flex a little. It'll flex some. The third string on that is literally just a cable.
It's a yeah, I see.
You know?
Yeah, that's a solid. Probably pull my car with that.
But they last longer. They do feel not. I mean, like once this is like my practice guitar. Like I said, this is what I practice all my hard licks on, because if I can do it on here, I can definitely do it on my one with tens. You know, and that's
my
what I
nines,
like.
you just straight up break the string, like just snap the guitar in half when you go to. Just like, why is there an S shape in your neck? Why does your guitar have scoliosis?
Yeah. But it's that's why I do like having this as my practice guitar. Even just doing arpeggios, man.
I need to learn more arpeggios.
Yeah. That was like this little. That's a good exercise. I can show it to you sometime, but it's like this.
Yeah, that would be good to practice. Along with I need to practice my my nice Bach Slab.
Your nice what now?
It's the whatever that pentatonic walk up, but it's like
Oh, the.
yeah, that I need to work on that.
Or were you talking about this thing that I showed you?
Yeah, and I was just about to mention that. I need to work on that as well.
Yeah.
Where that's all fifths, right?
Yeah. So it's.
Mostly fifths, it's not all fifths.
No, that's a fifth. That's all fifths. It's like this. So G, D, D, A, G, D. So here's your D, A again. and then
Oh, I see.
there
Okay.
you go. Yeah.
I'm gonna do a tune.
Is it you? Yeah, I guess it might be you. Yeah.
No, my guitar's in tune. Huh. Maybe I was just squeezing the strings too
Was
hard.
it me?
I might have been squeezing the strings too hard or something.
But yeah, cool. That's
Yeah. I need to work on that and practice that and just get faster at everything. So many things to practice. Always more, right?
Oh, dude. There's a lot, and that's why we got into this conversation is because I was the acoustic guitar and the slap and stuff. I had a lot of people getting into it. So I decided, what the heck, I'll try something, you know? So I started doing this song. I don't have my acoustic, but basically what you'll see these guys do, and I'll change the camera views here, is they'll do this like, they'll hit with their thumbs, or they call it like a thumb slap.
So you're getting the harmonies in there too, huh?
And this is where I do this. I can't really do it on here, but what I was doing was something like that, but you're getting like the Roschiato and slapping the side of the acoustic guitar. I'll do it another time when I'll pull out my acoustic and we'll show that off. But yeah, I'm just trying to work on something that'll kind of sound cool, similar to like what some of these people are doing. But when it comes to like the acoustic guitar, man, I'm all these open tunings and all this that or the other thing. I'm just like, I don't want to jump around like that, you know, because I still want to be able to pull the guitar out and play with somebody too.
Yeah.
You know, not just play by myself.
No,
that's the big thing for me.
I get that. What I've taken to learning was open forms. So.
Right.
Of course, a lot of them just make you sound like bands that are already out there because they've all learned the open forms.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry. I keep scrolling through the different.
Yeah, the open chords. Yeah.
Well, different settings on my guitar.
Oh yeah. We got to talk about your guitar too.
Talk about the guitar.
And then I got to show you something because you're a worship major.
Okay.
And I got a story.
Well, I was a worship major until I graduated. All right. Yeah. So this is my guitar.
This is Dan's guitar. We're gonna
You
do. Hang on. Let me get.
All right.
Bam. Let's blow you up. Let's blow. We're gonna blow Dan up.
Not too much.
Yeah. And I'm gonna go away.
You're gonna go away.
Whoop. There we go.
Okay. So this is.
You can move that camera closer too if you want.
I think it's already close enough. So, ow. All right. Well, I think people can see from back there.
Okay.
And there's not really much fine detail to check out.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it used to be a Zach Myers edition, PRS. Okay. And I set about to replace the tuners because the tuners in PRS guitars are awful.
Okay.
They're just straight up awful.
Terrible.
I'm not going to blame myself for this one, even though I probably deserve some blame because the way I wind my strings is sometimes bad.
All right.
But
you hear that, PRS? Get it together.
I don't think Paul Reed Smith really cares what I think at all. And I don't blame him.
Cheap guitars.
No, fantastic guitars. I am not saying that at all. Anyway, so I set about to replace my tuners with locking tuners. Did not do that. These are still the stock tuners. But I bought some active pickups. And a Seymour Duncan JB and Jazz pickups, passive pickups.
Ooh,
in here.
Nice.
And so I have them all wired up to where I just flipped a switch and it goes from the neck. A nice neck sound. I can blend them together, both of them. Then I can get the bridge. And then you got the active pickups, which they're very hot.
Yeah. Nice.
It gets that kind of a acoustic feel to it. And then here's the kicker. Okay, I do this.
All right.
Blend them. It gives
nice.
It gives it that little bit of a kick, and I can wind it down so it's not so hot with the acoustic feel to it.
So now they're both active?
Now they're passive and active mixed together, blending.
Really? Can you do active and active?
I only have one active.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the bridge is the only active pickup in here.
Okay.
So the other two are passive. These two are passive. Yeah, and so I can kick it out and do coil split.
Oh, nice. You got the taps on the switches and you pull them up?
Just one.
Okay.
This is tone.
And so that works for both pickups?
Uh-huh.
It taps them both?
Yep, taps them both.
That's nice.
Yep. Only one other thing is I can change the darkness of the... it makes it a little bit brighter.
Wow.
This
what is that?
Volume. This is the
But when you
pickup.
pull it...
This?
Yeah.
It's already pulled. It changes whether it's dark or bright.
Wow.
Darkens it just a little bit.
That's a lot going on.
Yep.
How much was this guitar?
The guitar, the bass guitar itself, was about $650, I think, maybe $500.
And you put in one pickup or both?
I put on 3. Put the active and the 2 passive, and then I wired up all the electronics and everything over here. So.
All 3, you said?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. The bridge is a pickup. The bridge is an active pickup.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how do you?
So I don't know if you can see it. There's little cables.
There's little cables. Oh yeah, I can see them. It's
hard to see them, but those little cables.
Yeah.
They each go to a separate piezo crystal.
Yeah.
That basically allows it to any vibration gets converted to electronic signal.
Yeah.
Which then gets passed through a preamp inside the guitar itself, and that gets blended with whatever's coming through. So right now I just have only active pickups, but this is the passive and active together.
That's really neat, dude.
Yeah. So it just
wow.
Nice blend of things.
Baller.
Yeah. So I mean, all in all, guitar was, I want to say like $500-$600, something in that range when I first got it. And then I put in another $300 worth of equipment into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's like probably if it needs a little bit of work on getting the readjustments and stuff.
Yeah.
But and I still want to put
Locking
tuners in it. This faded green look on here kind of looks cheap, but
it doesn't look terrible.
It's not terrible.
I do gotta say though, my take on locking tuners, I don't know. I don't know what to think about them because there's something to be said about. Let me see. Hang on here.
You want to get yourself back up there?
Let me get myself.
The world doesn't need to see that much of me.
So yeah, so like on the headstock, like you can see my strings are pretty wound. Like I got a good amount of winding. I noticed that if you are tuning, or if you are, let's say you are messing with different tunings, the locking tuners create a problem where it's kinked on that one joint. All that tension is on that one joint that's like locked. Because as you turn the string, you know how it like bends against the metal there. Now, depending on if it's rounded, it might be all right, but it gives more opportunity for the thing to snap on me. I guess is how I felt. But
depending on the design of the lock, like my other PRS that I have,
yeah,
it screws in, and that screw, if I tighten it too much, that screw theoretically holds the string in place. So it's not really so much that it's on the side of the eye hole. It's being held in the center, and so together in the center and the side of the eye hole, it kind of distributes that force.
Okay.
My Fender, which I think is a far better design, has like this little rubber stopper in it that goes and squeezes and holds it in place across a much greater surface area of the string.
Okay.
So, because otherwise, I mean, realistically, even wound, it's still hanging on that one eye hole, and bending right there.
I guess so, but I just feel like there's more because you have more strength because
wrap
it's
around.
wrapping around.
When I turn it on the, so I mean, just because it's locking, you can still like
wind it a little bit
if it makes you feel better.
Yeah.
I usually pull all the way through, lock it in place, and then tune it, and it gets in tune pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I don't have to worry about the winds falling on each other or causing each other to pull a string slightly out of tune or anything like that. But,
yeah. But hey.
Yeah.
But hey.
Eugene's position on a locking tuners. Get good scrub guitarist.
Well, when it comes to locking mechanisms, I just feel like the Floyd Rose is when it comes to that stuff. I like the Floyds, and if you're looking for stability, I would almost rather have them locked down on the nut rather than
and then tuning heads. Yeah. But
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think locking it down on the nut is witchcraft. So
yeah.
If it looks like it works on the one guitar you have, so
well, the two of them, the Red Ibanez.
Is that one aging pretty well so far?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty
no
graceful.
issues. Yeah.
Okay.
And I put that one in. I had to router out the hole bigger because the original one was small and the new one I got was a heavier duty floating Floyd, or it was
That must make you nervous to do that though.
It was. I mean, I had a router.
Take it slow.
I took tape, the blue tape, like carpenter's tape. Just taped the whole front basically, and then I just started routering, and I had it all lined out, the depth I wanted and everything, and yeah, A router is phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Like you can really, when you get for the feel for it, and especially if you know you're going, you got to know which direction with the grain of the wood. It goes a lot easier. But it's like butter, man. You know,
Right.
it's just
this little knob here. People watching can't see it, but this little tiny knob
Yeah.
here, I had to drill. Had a friend help me do it.
yeah.
Yeah, and so he drilled a little bit more, and just
Eventually.
kept it from cracking because this is a pretty.
Yeah.
It's thin.
So you started off real small.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and fast, real small and fast.
Yeah.
So, that was like my heart because I was already nervous as heck, and
Yeah.
I don't even want to show you what the wiring looks like. It needs to be redone.
Did you do it?
Yeah, I would help. Yeah.
Yeah.
I planned out the schematic and everything, and then we soldered it up, and
That's quite a wiring job, though, man.
yeah. I just followed some schematics I found online they had for everything.
Yeah.
But it took me a while to figure out how everything went together, and wasn't too bad after that. But looking at the diagrams versus looking at the little electronic pieces itself is
Yeah.
a little bit of work.
Yeah. Did you have any like incidents with soldering?
No,
You did all right?
we did all right. Yeah, he knows how to solder.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Because
at
I
it.
was doing the soldering myself at one
Yeah.
point, and there were a couple of times where I was like, all right, this is, especially when you're grounding on one of the bottom of the pots, you got to heat that sucker up, man.
You do.
And I don't know what, like, you got to get a big,
You can't heat it up too much or you destroy it, though.
That's true, too, yeah.
So, no, it was nerve wracking, but he's soldered so much stuff because he does auto maintenance
Yeah.
a lot, and so
So it really wasn't too bad.
no,
You're also working in small spaces, though,
Oh,
on
yeah.
guitars, man.
Yeah.
That's what's brutal.
Mm-hmm.
I got a hand helper. It's a magnifying glass with two little arms, and you can hold wires in place and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I just recently got that. I should have gotten it before.
I bought one too, but everything I read online says you probably shouldn't solder indoors with no ventilation because most of the solder has lead in it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've been a little bit neglecting to do it, but I just found out one thing I was gonna do is I was unhappy with the active pickups, because I thought like if my battery goes dead, this guitar is basically worthless, and it's a pain in the butt to take it out because I gotta take the back completely off and put a new battery in and screw the back in. But I found out if there's no battery in it, if the battery's dead, it still works.
Yeah.
My passive pickups still work.
Yeah,
So,
you just flick it off.
yeah,
right?
I just flick it off. Yeah, I didn't think that would happen. I thought it had to go through the circuit, the preamp and mixer circuit. No, it doesn't. Just pass right through.
Yeah. So. This well, actually, it's funny. This guitar did a bunch of work too. The one I'm holding right now.
Mm-hmm. Did you do the drawings on it?
No.
Okay.
Old friend, technically ex-girlfriend.
Is that a Squire?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, technically ex-girlfriend drew this on.
Fantastic job.
Yeah. I sanded the front, well, because it was all dinged up. It was black. Had a white pick guard.
Did you put a new lacquer on it?
I put a satin finish on it, yep.
Okay.
Sprayed it on.
It's not very thick.
What's that?
Your finish.
Yeah, I guess not. Well, it's pretty thick. I mean,
it's not as thick as normal Fender finishes.
oh, well, it's satin, though. I didn't want it to look too glossy.
High gloss, yeah. What do they call it? The nitrile?
Satin, the reason why is because when you do that gloss, man, to get it like smooth, like the top of your guitar is like a pain. And unless you have like a sealed
you
room.
gotta layer it.
Unless you're in a sealed room and you're wearing a hazmat suit and all that crap, it's really hard. So I just did a satin paint to protect the paint job.
Yeah.
But this was given to me by an old bass player in the band I was in back home. And the pick guard I ordered recently, and I put through this in. It came pre-wired, though. That's what was nice. All I had to do was solder it to the jack and to the ground.
That's helpful.
Yeah. So everything came in here, and I asked for on mine here, I have 3 switches for each pickup.
Uh-huh.
position 1, split, pickup is off in middle position, and then the rails are both on, so it's like a humbucker now.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of wiring to do. Yeah. I'm glad. It was hard enough to just get the split coil for shared between them.
Yeah. Yeah, this is but not, well, actually, no, it's probably not as much because each one of these switches controls each pickup. So it's just, this pickup's wires are just going to that pickup's wires are going to that pickup's wires are going to that one. So you have full control. Like right now, they're all off. So if I turn my volume on, you can kind of hear it until I turn something on. Yeah. And I did notice, though, that, and this was kind of weird, like, I was like, oh, what would it sound like if all three of them were on? And the volume actually dies.
How did you wire them?
I didn't wire them. It came pre-wired. But when I turn this middle off, there's some robustness there. So right now it's the bridge and the neck pickup. So like as soon as you turn the middle on, it like kills the volume, unless the middle's by itself.
Yeah. I wired mine, I believe I wired mine in parallel.
Yeah.
I'll say that and I'm probably wrong. It's probably series, but
yeah.
I think I wired mine in parallel. Does that make sense? It might be in series. Because I feel like if they were in parallel, they should be. I can't remember. But, yeah, so, I mean, there was like a handful of different ways you could wire it, and they were each massively different. Like, I could wire each of the splits in series, and, you know, so the outward are together and the inwards are together. And it just, there's so many options, and each had their drawbacks, and...
Yeah, I don't know when it goes to coil split which one it is. It might be the one closest on the out. But yeah, as soon as I turn if I have the neck or the bridge on with the middle, the volume dies. I don't know why that is, but
interesting.
So the middle can only be by itself.
They might be in phase. They might be out of phase. They might be wired. I forget the exact term for it, but basically they wired out of phase, and it gives it. Some people like the effect because it makes it like, you know, that
really thin.
I can't do it because I don't have it, but like you'll get some people like
this. Well, this is what it sounds like.
And then they reach down and they pop it back in.
Yeah.
And they come in, so they can like they might have done that on purpose.
Yeah.
To get that effect.
But of course, I got the two volume and tones, which I think only affect. Hang on. Yeah, middle and neck. So the bridge doesn't have a tone.
Interesting. That's an interesting choice.
Yeah. But yeah, I dig it. I love it. Yeah. You know, it gives me a lot of options. I mainly am playing through the neck. And if I want some extra juice, I'll put it in the humbucker mode. Or if, you know, what I love is doing the single coil in the neck and then the bridge full on.
That gives it that nice snap.
It's kind of a unique sound. That's why I like that, you know. But, yeah. That's this guitar now. I'd like to get a new neck with jumbo frets. And I looked into locking tuners. I might try them on here just to like see.
You can get some nice, well, maybe.
There's some Grovers I was looking at.
Well, Fender has some fantastic locking tuners. So if you can get a nice drop-in replacement,
Yeah.
but they may not be drop-in replacement. But they're still so nice for locking tuners.
Yeah.
But
I saw those for sale too.
I've heard Grover and what is it,
Schaller.
Schaller.
Yeah.
They make really good stuff.
Yeah.
Isn't like, I might be wrong about this. Is Grover like owned by Schaller? They're just the same brand or something. I don't
know.
I can't remember.
I don't know. But I thought about getting those for this. Oh, and the reason why was because I wanted to get a Floyd Rose rail tail, which is like an upgraded Strat bridge that Floyd Rose makes. But it's not it acts just like this one does, but better. It's just more. Things stay in tune better. The functioning's better. So
better precision.
Yeah.
Construction.
And I'm also just curious to see how the thing feels and how it works. So that'll be a fun upgrade.
Yeah.
But yeah. And at that point, the only thing original on this guitar will be the body.
The inside of the body.
Just the body. Everything else has been replaced. Oh, and the jack.
Yeah.
That's still the original jack.
Okay.
But I think these are just medium frets on here, which are nice. But the jumbos I know will make it a lot easier to play, especially with the big 12 gauges on here.
Yeah.
So.
My frets, I like them. My frets on all my guitars are holding up real well. So
it looks like you got medium on there.
I have no idea.
Yeah, you got the same kind on here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like them. I like that they're nice and rounded on the edges.
Yep.
Because I've played some people and like they're real sharp here on the edges. And I'm like, am I going to cut my hand wide open sliding up and down?
Yeah. That's usually due to not humidifying something correctly or keeping things stored right. You'll notice when a guitar starts to dry out, the frets will stick out a little bit.
That makes sense.
But I need to get a humidifier for this for my guitars.
For this room?
Technically, I'm just keeping them in their cases in there, which is usually okay. And especially, too, it's going to be naturally colder in the closet, which instead of the heat blowing on it, that keeps them pretty safe in the closet.
I don't humidify my guitars.
Well, electric guitars, you don't really need to worry about too much.
The acoustics either.
I would worry about acoustics, like if I had a real. But even then, I don't humidify them too much either. I just make sure the rooms.
We live in a naturally balanced humid climate.
Yeah.
Except in the winter, it gets real dry.
Yeah.
And I can tell when I go to play my guitars, it's like, oh, you sound different.
Yeah.
And I think it sounds different. Everybody else thinks it sounds exactly the same, but it's just.
Yeah. The winter will do that, and I had a Cordoba. And the thing needed to be humidified or the guitar would just go in the pits. And that guitar gave me so much trouble, dude. I will not get a Cordoba ever again. They, have I told you about the whole deal? It was when I was in college, the guitar that I was playing for my major.
Yeah.
That thing, bit the dust twice. Bridge popped off.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Brought it to the luthier at the store I work at, and he's looking at it. And I said, "What is going on?" Because he put it back down for me one time, and I just paid him because the first time Cordoba fixed it, but I had to send it to California. They fixed it for free. I got it back. It was fine. And then literally to the day, because I owned it for 3 years, bridge pops off. Literally 3 years later, thing pops off again.
Sounds to me like they use cheap glue.
So I gave it to my luthier. He's looking at it. He glues it back down. He got a whole nother bridge too. Put a whole nother bridge on there.
Okay.
Glued it down. What was the issue was the structure underneath the top was just this kind of it. And the luthier I was at, he said, honestly, the bracing under here is just kind of flimsy.
So it flexed a lot, which
It
caused
flexed.
it to, okay.
Yeah, it flexed a lot.
Yeah.
And which is not cool when the guitar is $1,000.
No, once you get over that $1,000 mark, you really expect it to be high quality.
Yeah.
Like this guy was that Korean made, which it's a good quality. But like I can feel the difference between this and both my Strat or my Tele and my other PRS because they're both American made.
Yep.
No, and they just put so much extra work into it. Yeah. And it feels and it shows and
that's how I feel about that Schecter I just recently got. It feels really good, sounds great. Yeah. You know, and it's a good guitar. And you know, when you got a guitar that keeps having issues, and which that I'm not the only one in the boat too. That's been an ongoing issue for the past few years with Cordoba guitars. These are classical guitars. Or the bridges are just pulling off, and the necks are warping, and
that's your first problem. Classical guitars.
Yeah. Which is like, honestly, now like I just love playing my steel. Like I got a Tanglewood, which is like a UK brand. Mm-hmm. And I just play all my classical stuff on the steel. It's a folk style body, which is a little bit smaller, almost like a classical guitar. I love that thing because I can do leads on it. I can do classical. I can play chords. That's what I do on there most of the time. Most of the stuff I play gig-wise is my acoustic. I wish I had more electric stuff, but
people, they have mixed reviews on electric stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like you got to be really good to entertain people with solo electric.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you can play stuff, but it starts to exhaust people mentally after a while, I feel like.
On the electric?
On the electric.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, classic music, they kind of expect it to just kind of fade into background noise, so to speak. And so, they just kind of can go about doing what they were doing.
Acoustic stuff, you're saying?
Yeah, acoustic, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, okay, this is nice.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because the gigs I play, and it's obviously to an older crowd. Mm-hmm. You know, like I play at this restaurant, and it's kind of known that I'm going to be there on Wednesday, every other Wednesday, or somebody's going to be there on Wednesday. So the other one week it's going to be jazz solo guitar. Our teacher is going to be playing. And then the other week is me. And I'll go in and I'll be playing classical stuff. You know, I got my looper, so I'll loop things, Christmas arrangements on a classical guitar. And there was one, this past time I played, I show up and there's like nobody there. And I'm like, oh, geez, this is going to be dead tonight. Well, dude, all of a sudden people just started coming in. Like almost 8 older couples came in, just sitting and listening.
They want to hear you.
Yeah, which was really neat. Yeah. But you know,
they like stuff they can remember from their childhood.
But you know, and one guy on one end of the building was really digging bluesy stuff. So I looped some blues and I was playing over blues, doing solos. The other crowd on the right side of the room, they really liked hearing my Beatles arrangements. So I did some more Beatles for them, you know.
So you mean classic rock, not classic music.
Yeah. But I would throw classical guitar in there. And usually when I do one of my classical pieces, it's kind of funny how many people like kind of look around like, dang, like this is pretty intense stuff.
Now, do you do classical pieces that were composed for guitar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Well, I also got a couple of Bach Preludes that are originally for cello.
Okay.
I got this is originally the whatever. But yeah,
I feel calmer already.
But that's the Stuff like that, you know. Yeah. And then my favorite one to play is the recuerdos, which is where you're doing tremolo finger. Stuff like that. Or what's another classical one that I'll play? Oh, classical gas. And what's kind of nice is an older generation might know that. Yeah. They'll hear classical gas.
Who's that by? Is that Led Zeppelin?
No, it's Mason Williams. Totally random. But I think he was a classical guitarist.
That's a famous song.
Yeah, it's huge. But and when you talk Mason Williams, it's like his song. But he does a lot of other stuff that are really good too. Yeah. But he's like known for playing that. Like he was on a late night show playing that with the band and everything. Yeah. But yeah, classical gas. Every now and then I'll pull out like a. So, you know, stuff like that, and people like hearing that. But and then looping something that sounds more Latin, people dig that, you know. Yeah. But with Christmas here, you know, I'm kind of doing the. People dig that too.
Yeah. Sounds nice.
Yeah.
Sounds real nice.
But that's almost more jazz. Like I'm kind of like mixing styles, which is funny because I was telling my teacher, our teacher that we had in college, Cameron, he was asking me one time, I was playing with a saxophonist, and he goes, "So what are you gonna play with the saxophone guy?" I said, "Well, I could bring my Strat, and I could just turn the tone down and get it to sound like a nice, you know, rhythm, get a nice rhythm sound on here, you know." Something like that, you know, whatever. But he, yeah. But he was like, "Well, mainly that's actually, you know, for more semi-hollow body stuff. Like that's kind of the traditional way. And if you're doing more Latin stuff, you should have like a nylon string guitar." But you know, I'm playing in a little restaurant with one other guy, so it's like, and I don't have like a guitar tech that's bringing guitars to me either. So what I ended up doing was just bringing my acoustic that I always play. I turn the presence down, bring up the lows and mids, turn down the highs, and I just kind of warmed it up, and I just played that. Mm-hmm. Which kind of in reality, when you think about it, an acoustic guitar was the guitar back in the day that was being used.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't until like the early 1900s that we even had electric amplification.
Right. So even in a big band, when the guitar got electrified, like it was an acoustic guitar that basically got electrified. And then John Les Paul in the 40s or 50s came out with the solid body electric, where he did the magnets wrapped in wires and all that. Mm-hmm. You know, so
Fender came out first with it, I think, didn't he?
No, it was John Les Paul. He was the one that brought the idea to the table. Yep. Really cool. Like if you go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, they got a whole section for him. Awesome. Shows you all the stuff that he was like messing with. that eventually led to the pickup he used in his guitar and everything.
I've seen some crazy stuff that he's messed around with. I did not realize how much my compressor was adding volume to my guitar.
But
sorry.
No, you're good.
I
But
just
yeah,
heard something and I wanted to try it.
but yeah, so that, and people love it, you know.
Yeah.
Where if you pick up an electric guitar, you're right. You kind of got to do probably entertain a little bit, and if you're sitting up there and you're doing, like, I love playing electric and I love doing stuff, and people would listen to me when in the band I was in back home, and they would be like, "Yeah, man, like, you know, playing some really awesome stuff, and you got chops and everything." And so they do. When you play electric guitar, I guess it is kind of like you better be doing something kind of impressive as far as lead wise, you know. But
Yeah, I just
are you having an inspirational moment,
yeah.
Dan?
Sorry.
Are you being inspired?
I am listening to what you're saying and simultaneously thinking about ways to do it.
What are you trying to figure out over
No,
here?
I'm not trying to figure out anything. I'm just thinking of different ways, like you get the ambient stuff,
Right?
which sounds good. You can clean it up though,
Yeah.
and I don't have a clean sound coming from my guitar. I need to get one. But you get into that, and you know, it's just always been a question to me, like, what makes people like certain styles versus others? Like, when I go to classical concerts, like, hey, what you're doing is technically complicated, but it doesn't really speak to me, I guess. And
Yeah.
I never quite know how to interact with the music. Like, some of the stuff you play on a guitar sounds amazing, but then I listen to other classical music, I'm like, cool.
Like classical guitar music,
Like,
or
it's just classical music, period.
yeah,
Like,
no, I hear you. And there's
and then people are like, well, this worship music or this pop music is so stupid.
Well-
I'm like, but I like it over the stuff you're playing, and
Yeah.
I feel like I don't understand what it is that makes it's not. I know what makes it different technically, but what makes it different in people's minds?
well, I guess it's all. I think it's all. So it's a very subjective thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's obviously, I've met tons of people that'll sit there and they'll be obsessed with Ed Sheeran or something, and I'm just like, you know, like, man. And then you'll have people that'll, you know, sit back and I, you know, I was kind of weird when I first started getting into guitar. When I was like 10, 11. If I heard something like you would hear like a lot of feedback, or if you heard something like, hang on here. That right there, that pinch harmonic.
I spent so long trying to learn pinch harmonic.
I thought that they were screwing up.
Oh, okay.
I thought that they were screwing up when I was
Yeah.
a kid, because I was like, it doesn't sound consistent. But I think what the issue was, my sister was learning classical piano, and all I heard was classical piano and regular pop sounding piano stuff. So the piano was like what I heard a lot. And when I listened to the guitar, obviously I thought the guitar was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought it was really cool. And when I heard the piano, but when I heard certain people playing it, I was like, that sounds like they're messing up. Little did I realize that the flesh and bone kind of style playing, like Jimmy Page, kind of he had that. Jimi Hendrix had that. Jeff Beck, these guys that just play. Jeff Beck especially. You listen to Jeff Beck.
All stellar guitarists.
Yeah, you listen to Jeff Beck, and if you have no clue about guitar and you watch Jeff Beck play, you'd probably be sitting back like, what is this? You know, but I guess it was when I started to learn guitar and get into it and play it, I was like, oh, okay. So then, like in my teen years, all that stuff was awesome. The feedback, the distortion, whammy bars, you know, the whole thing was like all I was into.
And then other people are like, hey, that sounds like a cat dying.
Yeah, yeah. Van Halen,
Yeah.
you know, I just thought it was epic. And then you'd have someone that would sit back and be like, well, can you play Chris Stapleton? And I'd be like, I just played like Eruption. You didn't think that was cool? Yeah. Or like the one part of Eruption that I know. And, you know, but that some people are just like, well, you know. But
yeah, in that though, like, so like, you know,
yeah.
That's real easy to do. I love that sound, but then I'm up here, and it's just like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, how much is it? I wonder how much of it is just people like demonstration of talent versus, I guess, what is it supposed to convey? Is it supposed to convey feeling, direction?
Right.
Is it supposed to be an expression of your talent?
There's obviously, you'll see this with players where you're going to have certain kinds of, everybody's different when they approach the instrument too.
Yeah.
So like, I know there's a guy, perfect example of kind of like what you were just doing there. There's a guy named Devin Townsend, and he plays a lot of metal. And when you listen to his stuff, you'll probably listen to his music and be like, this is really complicated stuff. However, he admits to you, he's just like, look, I just like chugging heavy drop tune guitars. Yeah. I like big fat chords that have like a 9 sound to them. So he'll actually tune the guitar to like a, you know, this kind of a chord. So he'll
yeah.
But it'll be just a bar.
That does sound amazing.
Yeah.
And those 9s are.
He'll do that, and he'll just play it with heavy distortion. They'll be in like drop C. Yeah. Yeah, and he'll do it in like drop C and stuff, and it'll be huge and a lot of distortion. And his guitar solos that he does do are very minimal. And but his music is very complex when it comes to vocal, because he's a vocalist.
Yeah, and see, I love that. I love like very complex vocals.
Yeah.
Not necessarily complex melodies, but the writing.
Yeah.
Like the writing style.
Yeah.
I love.
You want the music to take you. For me when it was me and listening to a lot of my guitar players that I enjoy listening to are almost like they're composers. They're not jazz guitarists that learn a box of tricks and pull them out in jazz. Yeah. Like they look at the guitar and they're looking at, what am I going to invent today? You know, as opposed to somebody that's learning licks and tricks. I like learning licks and tricks, but then there's the part of it that's like, I like to compose for the guitar too, you know? And then just being a classical guitarist, someone's always asking for some kind of arrangement of something, you know? So, and, but you know, but back on Devin Townsend, he his rhythm is awesome. Like his rhythm guitar is just so nice. It's just on point. He's just great at having heavy, in your face riffs that grab your attention. And, you know, and it could be one of those things where very rarely does he ever use the 2 high strings.
I think it was Willie Nelson who said he never made a dime above 5 to talk about playing guitar. He said, yeah.
Oh, he doesn't play the...
I mean, the fifth fret, he never made a dime above 5.
Oh,
He
I see.
always stayed below the fifth fret in everything he did.
Yeah, and that's a kind of music dude there. And, you know, the guitar, you're going to meet so many different kinds of people because the guitar is affordable.
It's affordable and it's personal.
And you can travel around with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you can strap it to your back and you're good to go.
I mean, the pianists at school, you don't fall in love with your piano. You may have a favorite piano.
Yeah.
But it's not your piano so much as you just get to play it.
Right.
This is my guitar. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I kind of take it personally if people don't like it or if they treat it badly.
Right.
You
right.
know?
It's not like the piano at church or the piano at school.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, we had a piano at church, and I probably would have, like, beat someone if they tried to hurt the piano. But that was more of a financial thing. This is my guitar.
Right.
No matter what it costs, you know, I just...
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that brings out a certain character of people when they play it.
Mm-hmm.
Versus piano music, which sounds... you can convey a lot of emotions and things like that. Yeah. But it's very sanitary. I don't know how to describe it. Whereas guitar is like all over the board. It can full range of human expression.
Yeah, and it's been the forefront of music just as an evolution. Music's evolution. It's been like at the forefront. You know, I think that. Yeah, and it's always kind of been an underdog instrument too. No one really views it as...
Well, I mean, up until the early 1900s, you couldn't even play it with the rest of a band.
No, you couldn't. But that's why but isn't it funny how it became electrified? Like, it was one of the first things to be electrified, you know, and next thing you know, and I honestly truly believe is because, again, it was affordable, and you could get your hands on it a lot easier than a saxophone. Oh, yeah. You know, like it, and so you had all these guys playing blues in the early 1900s, late 1800s.
So straightforward compared to a saxophone.
Yeah. Yeah, when I look at a saxophone, I'm looking at it like, what is this steampunk looking thing? Like, I don't even know.
Don't get me wrong. If you can play saxophone, it sounds good.
Sounds
good.
It sounds cool. Yeah. And brass and stuff. All that stuff.
They got their place.
Yeah. But it was when the guitar when you had guys coming out like, how can I mean, it was the pioneer of like electrifying an instrument. And then you had solid body come out. And then you had that just opened up a whole new world, and you got pedals. Pedals were like, you know, another 10 years later, people got pedals like on the ground and they're messing with effects. And you know, Eddie Van Halen comes out and he's like, well, I want, this is how I play. And he's doing taps and you're like, what?
Let's say,
and then
for instance, hypothetically, we were beating a cat. What would it sound like?
Well, that was the other thing is, you know.
He's good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. And then guys like Jeff Beck, like we talked about earlier, just you're listening to it like, where did that come from? You know, like where did you you listen to Jeff Beck play and you're like, I don't even know what inspired that. That's kind of like
I see the music
like another
theory,
world,
but I don't know how you came up with it.
Well, all his tricks with his whammy bar are flawless. Yeah. Like he makes the guitar sound like a singer. Like he another guy I like is Steve Vai. Steve Vai also does the same kind of stuff with his playing.
It was Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam, right? Is Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam?
Steve Vai?
No, Steve.
You're talking about Eddie Vedder was from Pearl Jam.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I always get like Steve Vai and Eddie Vedder confused, even though they're not even remotely the same.
No. But no, Steve Vai, he's known for doing wild stuff with the whammy bar and the floating drum, and Jeff Beck is another one that's just, it's incredible. Yeah. What he'll do, and it just sounds ethereal, you know? And and then you have the other thing about the guitar is a lot of people just pick it up and start doing things. Jeff Beck doesn't read anything.
I was listening to an interview with dude from the Foo Fighters. What's his name?
Dave Grohl.
Dave Grohl, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's talking he's like, and so I was just sitting there messing around with the guitar, and I start doing this. He was talking about a song, Everlong, which is a beautiful song. And he's like, I don't even know what key I'm in or what I'm doing here. I don't know any of that stuff. I'm like, he's probably one of the best writers of the modern age, songwriters of the modern age, and he doesn't know music theory, or he knows very little.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about and Eddie Van Halen, you know, when you listen to him and you listen to him do his complex like taps and stuff, he played piano by ear and he played guitar by ear, apparently. And you've had a lot, and what always kind of made me laugh is in academia, that's a real problem. You know, you're like frowned upon. You know, you can't read music.
So I will say this. When I first started school, I only played by ear. And then I started, then because they forced me to learn music theory, it made me so much better.
Oh, yeah. So, no, I think it's beneficial. I'm not trying to say anything against it.
But
I think
I see what you're saying, where people get stuck in the mechanical.
Yeah, and the freeness that comes out of ear playing. Because here's where I'm coming from. I will write something that has a lot of theory going on. Put it together, it's very brick and mortar, and then I just feel the rest of it. You know, it's kind of like, here's the song. There is a lot of technique going on, but or theory going on, but the theory is going to go out the window as soon as I start doing a solo over something. Yeah. Like, I know my scales, I know what I'm going to do here, I know what I'm going to do there to grab some attention, but I'm not going to, you know, sit back. Like, I've never written out a guitar solo. Yeah. I was like,
you got to feel that. Otherwise, you got to feel that.
And people do that. Yeah. There are guys that do that.
And they write really good ones, too. And so.
Like, I can't imagine somebody, like, who is it that writes out their solos that I sat back and was like, are you kidding me? It might have been Megadeth. They might write out their solo. I can't, like Dave Mustaine. Maybe not. It was one of those metal bands that you're listening to the guitar solos and it's like shredding stuff, like fast stuff, and you're like, why would you bother writing that out? Like, that is just... Like, it's pentatonic scale. You're doing this here, doing that there, a couple flashy things here, and then bam, back to the verse or something. You know, it's like, and what was funny was one of the things about me first picking up the guitar is I thought they all wrote that, like, and they memorized everything, and I'm sitting there like, how do they do that? But it's like, oh, scales, shapes, patterns,
and after a while, it becomes
you
part
start
of
getting getting some licks under your belt, some like things in your ear, So it's wild, but you know, I approach things. Frank Zappa had a quote. They asked him, he's like, my guitar solos are never written out. Like, I write out he wrote out everything else. But he said the guitar solo, He's like, I want the crowd I want it to be a new solo for each show. Yeah. Is how he approached it.
Dudes from Dragon Force, I heard them talking.
Oh, gee, that might have been them that...
They,
Do they just play it or do they write it?
They make it up on the spot. Yeah. When they play live, like they add flourishes and flair and different stuff when they play live because they're like, hey, if you want to listen to the recording, go listen to the recording. But you're at a live show. Right.
And that's how it should be approached, in my opinion.
Sometimes it doesn't turn out too well, but a lot of times I think it makes it alive.
Yeah.
You know.
But see, one thing that I noticed when I went in the studio with the band I was in, going in the studio really forced me to be like, okay, where's the solo gonna go, right?
When you're recording music, you kind of need it have nailed down.
And then, like, and while I'm talking about the solo, like where do, like I probably laid out 3 solos.
Yeah.
And then the third time, I was like, oh, this is I want the third one. Like, let's keep the third one. And basically, in my head, I just remembered it. Like, I just remembered the sound. I knew what to do when. Now, think of it like, here's the building blocks. Here's this part of the solo, that part of the solo, and I'm doing something like this. Then doing things live, I might switch stuff up. Just to
but
add
having
a different
that structure
flair.
there, having like the bones.
But
so
I
to
would be,
speak.
I would be building off a structure of like, do this here,
like,
do that there.
So there's these flag poles that keep me focused, so I don't just go wandering off and changing keys 6 times or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I totally get that. But that, so it's kind of like this nice blending of music theory and just letting yourself be free.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I like to do is see how many major chords I can fit into a chord progression. Which is how I ended up with this.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So I just stuff like that, and like, okay, what happens if I, a pretty famous walk down is going from a 1 to a flat major 7.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And like everyone does that, and so let's see what happens if I just keep doing a full step walk down. And eventually it's like, okay, I don't really care for that, but it's stuff like that where it's just like, if I only stick to the major scales, which I have theory for, and a lot of times I'll do that, it starts sounding exactly the same, but then I start opening up a whole host of new feelings and stuff like that it may not be easy to explain theory-wise, but it sounds great.
Yeah. And I had a guy come in. This just made me think of this. I had a guy come in the store this week, and I was holding my guitar and I was playing something, and he goes, he's a teacher, and he goes, play me a Phrygian chord. And I said, a Phrygian chord? And I asked him, I said, is that a thing? Is that really a thing? And he's like, yeah, it's a thing. So in my head, I'm like, okay, Phrygian chord. And I just played. And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's that's the one." But is
that an augmented chord?
I think of the riff where if I was an E Phrygian, what would I do to really bring out that Phrygian? And it's this open. Technically, it's like an F major, but the B and the E are there on the top. But it really captures the feel of a Phrygian, so that's what I played for him. He's like, "Yeah, that's the one." I just thought that was funny.
Because Phrygian, okay, all right.
Yeah,
I don't.
It's a mode, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't put a chord in a.
But I guess the way to, if you're going to try to encapsulate a scale, or let's say you're going to try to encapsulate a mode within a chord. For example, if I told you, play me a Lydian chord. Now Lydian.
What scale degrees does that start on?
4.
4. Okay.
But let's say.
Hold on. Let me.
I'm asking you though, play me a chord that makes me feel Lydian.
Yeah.
That's a whole different ball game than.
That is a whole different ball game because I don't know what Lydian sounds like.
So Lydian, let's do it in A. Let's do an A Lydian. Play me a A major chord. Basically, it's a sharp 4, which would be D sharp. So, if I told you, now also, you know that sharp 4 is the same as a flat 5, right? So, the way that you could approach this, if you have a, if you're in the key of A, Lydian, and somebody asks you to play them a chord that makes them feel Lydian. Lydian is part of the major family, so it's part of a major mode, right? So there's my A, right? Play an A major 7. So this is really giving you an A major feel, right? Now, flat the 5 in the chord, which is going to be your E. So it's easier if you do it up here on the 5th fret. So play a bar major 7. Play a bar at the 5th. Now, do you know the major 7 shape here? Yeah. So there's your major 7, right? What you're gonna do is take your middle finger, that's gonna hit the bass A. So now your pointy finger's free.
Okay.
Right? Your pointy finger is now gonna hit the E flat. Second string, 4th fret. There. So if someone asks you, so there's your flat 5, which is also your sharp
Dissonance.
4, right? Which is also your sharp 4.
That was the word I was trying to think of earlier.
Oh. So there's your flat 5, which is also your sharp 4. You have a major 3rd and a major 7. So basically, that chord right there is playing the Lydian mode for you, like in harmony, basically, without it sounding like 7 notes jumbled together.
So it's basically a double major 7. It has a double major 7 in it.
Like, what do you mean?
So right there, that's a major 7.
Yeah.
And then when you have it down here, I guess that would. Is that right? No, I don't think that's right.
That's a 5th.
I was thinking about it wrong. Yeah, I was thinking about it wrong. Never mind.
Oh, it's all good. But yeah, that's kind of like, so when he was talking to me about play me a Phrygian chord.
Yeah, that's what came to mind.
Well, yeah, just because I know that in a Phrygian, one of the things I like to do for Phrygian mode is play, and it sounds very Latin. It's a very Latin thing, Phrygian, but basically a Latin chord progression better have some kind of something like that. So technically what you would call this this would be an F major 7 sharp 4, right? Because B is lowering the F is the 4th. Yeah. So sharp 4. So it'd be an F major 7, add sharp 4. Or what do you call it? That's a
Sharp 4 would be a
13. No, a 10. An 11. It'd be an 11. Sharp 11.
Yeah, but it depends on where you place it in the chord.
Because a 9 is 2.
Yeah.
10 is 3. Yeah, 11. So it'd be major 7 sharp 4. Major 7 sharp 11. Which is probably what he wanted me to play, which is what I played for him.
So I guess he was pleased.
Yeah.
You pleased.
Yeah, but anyway, what we were talking about. Let's go back on that subject about guitar players, because we didn't really finish that, did we?
What I was asking is more along the lines of like, so I listen to, I'm gonna be atrocious at this, and someone's gonna be listening and be like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, so I think
Screw them.
I think it's Moonlight Sonata. Is that Beethoven?
Yeah.
So I listened to Moonlight Sonata.
Right.
Beautiful song.
Mm-hmm.
But then I listened to, I don't know, Flight of the Bumblebees.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, okay, I mean, I get that. I've kind of contextualized Flight of the Bumblebees to be carnival music or some sort of like crazy old-fashioned chase scene or something like that, whereas Moonlight Sonata. But so what I'm wondering is like, what do you, I guess it probably will depend on person to person, but do you listen to music just for the sake of the music? Is it for the sake of the emotion that it conveys? Is it supposed to tell a story? Is it about talent, you know?
Well, it's funny you brought up Beethoven, because Beethoven is my favorite considered classical.
I don't think Flight of the Bumblebees is by Beethoven.
He was kind of borderline romantic as well, but he's one of my favorites. But you have music like Mozart. People are obsessed with Mozart. People are obsessed with, piano players at Cedarville. Was it Rachmaninoff? Everybody was obsessed. And I listen to some Rachmaninoff. And
Six Fingered Man.
And you listen to it and you're like, yeah, but again, it's, I think it's more pleasing for the pianist to play because it's really hard.
Yeah, it's fun to play.
Yeah, it's fun to play. Like
it's
this,
challenging.
Like this song, I'll admit it, dude. This song, it's fun to play. Like I love playing that, you know, or I love playing that.
See, and I like that. I mean,
yeah. Well, you know, it's funny because that guy.
I'm a fan of strings, though. So.
There's that composer that wrote that stuff. That was all one dude that wrote that stuff. Love him, Augustin Barrios, classical guitarist, composed for guitar, nothing else. That was it. And you have those guys that just compose for the guitar. And when you listen to those guys, and you listen to the pieces, and here's the funny thing: a lot of them were either from Latin style playing, Spain, South America, whatever. That's a lot of guitar composers came out of that. But Fernando Soare. Oh gosh, this is bad. I can't remember I want to say he was French. I have no idea. Bach wrote for the lute, which was the grandfather of guitars there, which was kind of a big deal. That's. And wrote well for that. That's one thing. Yeah. I think I love playing Bach. Let me shut this echo off here. mean, it sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I like to, if it sounds great, to me, I'm like, I got to learn it. You know, that's my kind of thing. But when you have these players these guys that compose for guitar, these classical guys that compose for the guitar, you know, it's gonna sound really nice. And I feel like there's certain classical music that you just sit back and you listen to it and you're like, okay, where is this going? You know, Mozart is like that for me.
And people just like, and they love it.
Yeah.
And some people like love it, and it's just like, this is what all music should sound like. It's like, I hope not.
To me, dude, if I like, because when we went to college, we had to keep going to these so many shows per year.
You did.
Oh, I did. That's right. Yeah, you didn't have to.
I went to a few of them because my friends were performing in them.
So I would go to these things, and dude, I would just sit there and be like, I'm done listening to classical music. If Beethoven was playing, I'd be like, finally, like some awesome stuff that I like. Beethoven or oh gosh,
Debussy.
No, yeah. See, he was too flighty for me.
I think so.
He was a little too French, and
Okay.
A little too French, and
I feel like I liked more of his stuff. I don't know.
A little too French and gay for me. No, I was kidding. No, he was just his stuff. What I appreciated about Debussy, and he had some great sounding stuff. What I appreciated about him, and I don't think a lot of people took note of this, his approach to music was very similar to, I feel like, guitarists in rock. And I know that's like a long shot, and people are like probably wreaking havoc in the streets, me saying that, but
guitar ruined the music.
Debussy liked to write with big open chords that didn't have thirds. Because he liked to approach things modally, or
that may be why I like him.
Well, there you go. And he liked to approach things very modally, and sometimes not even modally. Like, he would just throw something in there, and you're like, what was that? And the song keeps going, and you're like, what was that note? But he would, and what's a power chord?
Just a 1 and a 5 and a
1 and a 5, open chord.
Mm-hmm.
So
nice.
Exactly. And what's great about open chords, and depending on which, like if I'm doing something like this, obviously I'm going to be doing more minor, but if I go, that's more major. So you can kind of figure out which direction.
Well, that's great about
go.
the 1 and the 5 is they paint the chord, but they kind of leave it up to interpretation how you're gonna interpret the chord.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he did a lot of that, and you can call it. Maybe he was more sophisticated than what you would hear a guitarist playing power chords, but really, it's the same kind of approach to music. You're relying on the melody, and the harmony's just kind of there, creating this open space, and the melody or the solo or whatever is creating the mood. So so that's what I appreciate about Debussy, and he had some good stuff, but there was even songs like, dude, there was a song called Der Erlkönig by Schubert. Yeah, I want to say it was Schubert. Epic song. I mean, the harmony in that is just
the hard part about talking about these things.
And when you hear the song, you're like, this needs to be a heavy metal song. Yeah. And sure enough, somebody made a heavy metal version.
Yeah. I mean, I know Bach, Beethoven, and some others really inspired a lot of the it's amazing how much excuse me.
Yep.
How much heavy metal is just classical music. with distortion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's
played fast with distortion.
Yeah. And it's cool. I mean it.
Yeah.
But I like Bach. I like Beethoven. There are just some composers though that I'm like, all right, what are we doing? Like what's the point here?
I always wonder, like when I'm listening to him, like okay, like because I mean, one of my favorite things is just I mean you mentioned the 1 and the 5, so I'll just let me actually play the correct. Like to me, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I know it's got a YouTube feel to it.
Yeah.
And it takes no effort.
Every time you play, you get shivers almost. Yeah.
And all I'm doing is just
if it speaks to you, man, that's kind of like that's why it's all subjective. And when you got somebody and
so I'm just wondering, like when other people listen to these bands,
what do they hear?
Yeah. Is it speaking to them? Do they like listen to it like, oh, that takes so much talent to play? Or does it literally just open up a whole new world in their mind?
I mean, all you got to do, if you look at what people really want to listen to, I mean, it is kind of, to us, we're kind of like, that's really not that great. Like I had a guy come up to me while I was playing at the gig. He wanted me to play some Bruno Mars. So I had some in my book. I said, yeah, I got Bruno Mars. But, I mean, dude, it's not, it's not hard stuff, but people love it. They just turn it on and they just...
Makes tons of money. The dude is printing money.
People love it, And I think, and... another person that I think she's good, very unique voice, Adele. Mm-hmm. But I listen to her, and she's another one. I'll listen to her, and I'll be like, yeah, there's some really good stuff here. But then I'll be like, it's just it's not grabbing me. It's not like it's cool. But if you were to put Adele next to somebody like Beth Hart or Stone. The last name is Stone. Oh gosh.
We're out of my league.
Now, granted, these are like blues soul singers.
I've heard of these people before, but I don't know much about them. So.
Aretha Franklin.
Okay.
Aretha Franklin. If you put Adele next to like Aretha Franklin, Beth Hart.
Is Beth Hart from the band Heart?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. She's just kind of
Heart Sisters. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, these women will sing, and it's just like, ooh, man. Yeah. Like this is serious, and and Adele. She comes from she sings that kind of style. She has that soul thing, but I don't know what it is. I don't know. It doesn't grab me like them, and I don't know if it's because Adele is kind of more. It might be because she's with the popular music now. Everything's very clean and put together, whereas older music like when it was Aretha Franklin singing in them, there was a lot of freedom going on. There wasn't. You walked into a studio and there was a mic hanging from the ceiling. That was, and it was just more free. It wasn't like cleaned up and cropped and,
Mm-hmm.
But another person who is making a killing doing whatever it is she does, and people love it. I've come to realize that people really they want to hear something that makes them understand. Like a lot of times they'll listen to something, an average day person, they want to be able to relate to it. They either want to they want to be able to relate, hum along to, and understand. Because
they want to participate in it.
Yeah, if it's beyond them, like you start playing, like for me, I can sit here and listen to a Steve Vai album. It's just guitar. Even worse, I could sit and listen to Frank Zappa's "Shut Up and Play Your Guitar" album, which is just, it's almost like there's no track break. The whole album is just bleeds right into the next tune, and it's like an hour, maybe hour and a half of just guitar soloing. Right? I could just sit there and listen to that, and a lot of people would just be like, "What what are we doing, dude?"
I want to dance, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, like,
I want to dance. I want to clap along. I want to sing along.
But and that's just that's just what you have. You know,
it's just a weird thought. I don't know what to think about it.
It's extremely subjective, and you know what always cracks me up when you're in academia and you're studying music. Pop music is like frowned upon, and you know they get this bad stigma, and
unless you're a worship major. Then basically all you learn is pop music.
Yeah, but you know what always cracked me up was this whole attitude, and I'm just sitting there like, listen, I am not a fan as much as the other guy of a lot of pop music, but these people are making crazy money,
and everything has its place.
And you can sit there and play a piece for 1,000 hours till you got it perfect, and you get invited to go play it at the Super Bowl, whatever Super Bowl we might be coming up to.
Yeah, I have no idea.
And I don't know the number. And you sit down and you start playing, and everybody will be sitting there twiddling their thumbs and like, okay, where's Mariah Carey in that outfit? What's the deal, dude?
Where's the vocal runs?
I'm mainly talking like if you're a classical player and you're a pianist and you like, let's say you go up there and play this rock model. You might have you'll have some people that'll look at it and be like, oh, that was really interesting. But as soon as Mariah Carey hits the stage and she starts singing her hit song, whatever it is, people are pulling out their cell phones. Chicks are like, this is my song. Crying.
So one thing I was listening, I was watching a video, and this guy was talking, because I had a class talking about, we had talk about worship and worship music, and I don't know how long you want to run tonight, but
oh, it's all right. Oh, dang, we are.
But they were talking like, he was wondering like, are we actually doing damage to people with all this pop music? Because it, you know, you get, let's see if I can do this. So let's say I just, and then let's say I keep going. Yeah. You want it to resolve. And if you keep doing that, we're so used to in pop music, it resolves real quickly.
Right.
And it reaches that point where it's like...
Yeah.
And then you expect the next chord to resolve that phrase. And a lot of the classical music and the more jazz music and stuff like that doesn't resolve that quickly. Like you got... You're just like, okay, where's the resolution? Like, and this guy was saying like, I wonder if we're doing damage to people because we're always giving them that resolution quickly, and not teaching them to reflect. But at the same time, do we teach people what music to like, or do we reflect what music people already like?
Right.
You know, and I think it's a bit of both. And I just wonder, you know, because I love pop music. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a fine line between pop music that I like and that I don't. but I know there's a certain, like you were talking about, listen to guitar play for like an hour and a half or whatever. And I know, like, in that, it's just like, okay, this is more reflective, I guess, than Get Up and Go and Poppy. And I would say Poppy to mean like it's bubbly, or it's dance music or something like that, not necessarily just popular.
Right.
And so it just, and I wonder, like, you know, is that instant resolution? Is that constant instant gratification?
Yeah. Well, I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah.
You know, these video games, all this stuff that people talk about.
Well, even in video games, there's video games that are very complicated and really drive you to be better. And there's video games that are just like, all right, quick, fast, you know. and you know, there's this whole balance of things. People are talking about the...
But, like, let's be honest, though. Which games are more popular, do we think?
The ones that are, like...
Quick, a little bit quick.
Quick, instant resolution, instant feedback, and people are talking about... I just might as well say it. Fortnite, for instance. And people were explaining, like, okay, Fortnite is causing problems with people because it's like you run out, you open boxes, you do things, and it's all instant gratification over and over and over again.
Right.
Versus other games, and they're talking about how this is like wiring people in a weird way. And they're talking about they recommend the best way to get over it is to play a longer form game like Legend of Zelda, Skyrim, or Breath of the Wild, Legend of Zelda, where it's you got to work harder to accomplish something, and you know, and it was a whole big long study, and some of it I wonder, like, are these people just elitist? And I think there is some of that in it, but I also do wonder, like, are we setting up a whole population to fail
for instant gratification? Things just happening like that real quick. Yeah. I mean, you see it in the music. I mean, you do. You know, a lot of the top hit songs are very
1-4-5-1,
or just straight up very minimal. You know. A lot of the singers seem to be trying to get this whole rap thing mixed into you see some of these country singers.
Rap is pretty complicated.
Well,
like,
what I'm saying,
if it's done well.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not knocking rap.
Yeah,
but it seems to be like you'll hear that the singer seems to be rapping a lot. I'm just kind of putting that on the table. Country singers will put rap in their song. I just remember being in a store hearing a song, and it's like some, country tune, and all of a sudden he starts rapping, and I'm just like, wow.
The only difference between a country song and a rap song, though, is you're in the club in the town versus in the club in the city. So,
and music that pains me is pop country.
Pop country.
Very painful.
It's catchy, though.
I used to work, the old job I used to have going in as a merchandiser. We sat in stores. We mainly did Dollar Generals. I would go work at this store in Jamestown, and they would just have the country station on that just played the top 10 over and over and over. And these people would just be, again, a group of people. They would just sit there and listen to it and sing it all day. In the meantime, I'm like ready to stab somebody. And just say, and just be like, you people need to get some culture. I don't know what to tell you. Get up off your hill. Yeah. Go down into the city. Something.
People love
to get a coffee at an Italian joint. That's enough fried chicken for the day, okay?
People love to know what they know, and they don't want to know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't say that to be an elitist to the point where, like, if you like what you like, you like what you like. I mean, I like Coldplay, I really like what U2 does, and
right.
I like worship music. I really do.
Yeah.
It's real simple, 4 chords. Easy for people to sing along with.
Yeah.
Real simple, narrow ranges vocally, and there's not much creativity going on. I like it, but I think there is something to be said about, what you said, getting a little bit of culture. The problem is what we define as culture,
Yeah.
Because I feel like most people, what they define as culture is, hey, you need to know what I know because I'm better than you. And I think that happens a lot.
There's a guy who's got a country guy, newer guy, who's got a song about having a party in a cornfield.
Okay, that doesn't really narrow it down.
But it's like the hit song though.
Yeah. Again, doesn't narrow it down.
Do I need to look it up? Hang on. I'll look it up.
Is he talking about driving down an old dusty road with his pickup truck?
We're going to have, it's something about having a party in a cornfield, and, that's where we don't need this or that because we got a cornfield.
Have you heard the song Out Here by a Lake? 20 miles from Santa Fe.
Yes, you sent that to me.
That is a masterpiece of a song. It's now stuck in my head again.
Kick the Dust Up, Luke Bryan.
Yeah, Luke Bryan is like the...
But you listen to this song, and again, it's just kind of like... It's very verse-chorus run. There is a guitar solo, I think, at some point, but again, it's exactly what you said. It's very, like, it's not, you can sing along to it.
Yeah. I say this, and some people, they think I'm just being elitist, but I think one hallmark of a good song is a good work of art, period. Movie, book, song.
Yeah.
Good speaker, you name it. Does it leave you better when you walked away from it? When you're done with it?
Yeah.
When it's served its purpose, has it made you better?
Yeah.
And that's a tough thing to do.
Yeah. If you're an artist, you need to be the one that's making yourself happy with your music.
Yeah.
If you're looking at your music and, somebody's coming in and chopping up your music and doing whatever, and you're not really in control of it, I think that's a problem. But I think that like when I sit down on my first album that I did, there were songs that were like fun for the guitar. And then there were other songs that I felt were a little more, they're kind of like deep and meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody might listen to it and be like, well, there's too much of this or too much of that. And it's like, that's not how this is going, man. This is how I'm writing it, But, and then you have like these YouTube videos, how to write a song that'll just, make the top charts. And that can be your focus, I guess, if you want. But if you're not that kind of person, if you're just like, look, dude, I just want to play. But you also got to realize that you're a rebel, and you're probably not going to be as popular. And if you're willing to ride that train, then ride it.
One of the artists I listened to created this. He's a rapper. He created this whole big album of raps that were heavily inspired by C.S. Lewis writings. They were fantastic. His most popular song that people loved was him just screwing around. And he's like,
exactly.
I don't get it. Like,
yeah,
I write these songs and pour my heart and soul into them, and then the most popular one is one that I just kind of mess around with. And,
what was funny was I did on my first album, I sent it out there. I had a song on there called Hellbound. Mm-hmm. That was kind of heavy for me to write because it was when was it after? I think I wrote it oh no, I think it was before. I wrote it before my dad passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like surreal because, or man, was it after? Yeah, it might have been after. Oh yeah, it was after, but it was surreal because the song is meant to be is like a story, and it's a guy telling his story, and he's just kind of questioning reality, and he's sitting there, and he's in his last moments of life, and he's like, well, I did this, I did that, that was really good, this maybe not so good, and he's trying to like pan this all out, and at the end of the song it's just meant to say that your actions didn't do or nothing, that's kind of like the end of it. And it's kind of open-ended. However, I do end the song with, him falling into a black, like, mass. So, I mean, I guess it does kind of make you feel like that, didn't really end too well. But I think that's the way I wanted it to end, because he was sitting there defending his actions. He's like, but look at how I live. Look at what I did for this. And
many will say to me on that day, Lord,
yeah,
Lord, didn't I do this?
Yeah, yeah.
I will say,
and this is where our faith comes in,
Yeah.
And there's a lot, and you hear that a lot. I heard it this past week doing a gig, and this guy was like, oh, well, you just try to do your best in this life, and that'll get you into heaven.
Best is not good enough.
Yeah.
That's hard to explain to
and
people.
it, like, honestly, if we sat around as a human race and we're like, well, we just try to do our best. What is that? Like, what? So is heaven just going to be this mediocre, like, you're just painting a whole, it's bigger than that, and it needs to be. Like, you can't have, when you're talking about eternal things, right now you're in a gray zone. When you're talking about eternal things, that's got to be very white and black to me. And it's either, you're just not, it doesn't matter how many good things you might have done or whatever. And that's the point, because you can't. Nobody can do good, And until people realize that, I think that you're just signing up for depression, hardcore depression.
When I was teaching kids, I asked them, so I'm like, hey, you guys sinners? They're like, yeah, of course. I'm like, all right. Okay, you're sinners.
Yeah.
Are you bad people? And they're like, no, I'm not a bad person.
Yeah.
It's like, but you just said you're a sinner.
Yeah.
And they looked at me, they're like, and I think I just like shattered their world. Because they.
Well, that's heavy. You were taking it. You were hitting them.
Yeah, they're little kids, but I mean, we do that. It's just we get them to repeat things like, "Of course I'm a sinner. I know I'm a sinner." It's like, okay, what does that mean? It means I sin. It's like, okay, so it means you're a bad person. It's like, well, no, I'm not a bad person. But you just said you're a sinner. It's like, well, no, but it's like, and we get into that, like, we use language, and it's so heavily charged,
right,
that we think we understand what's really going on, and we don't.
Right.
And so when you really get down to it, and know what language you're speaking, that cuts at people. Yeah. Yeah. Because if I were to like be like, I'm not saying this because my actions were good enough, and I just want to say that yours weren't good enough. I'm saying this because neither of our actions are good enough. Right. Yeah. And that's what, and some people might think, well, what you're saying is depressing. It's like, but what if free gift. I try to flip it, and I say, if you're relying on people's actions to get you into heaven, or any kind of heaven that you might understand, that just doesn't line up to me, because I think if people were really critical of themselves, they'd realize, like, and I think it's the lack of, like, acknowledging that there is a bad place as well.
And I think that people need to realize that if we are mirror images of an afterlife, in a sense, where there's good stuff that goes on, and
Bible
then
says we're shadows.
And then there's like bad stuff, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the world and you see evil going on, well, where does that come from? That's got to come from somewhere, right? Because if we're just thinking that we just try to do our best and do good, and well, what about, I don't know, name some evil figure.
Hitler thought he was doing a good thing.
Hitler thought he was doing a good thing, right?
Didn't take us long to get to Hitler, but I mean, that's a prime example. I mean,
yeah.
I would venture to say the vast majority of things that are done badly were done for good reasons.
Right. Now, there's a lot of people that, Hitler's a big thing, man. That's tough, but
that's
we'll
another thing that's charged.
Yeah. But we'll go with that. What the
I
heck?
could probably think of something better.
Osama bin Laden.
No, let's go with something a little bit more. So recently, I heard a story of this woman. She was in the Philippines, and she kidnapped this homeless child, and tried to sneak it out of the country. Mm-hmm. So she got in trouble for child trafficking. Good reason, right? Was it a good thing? It's one of those things. It's like, okay, I sit here and it's like, well, that child had no home, nothing else, but I don't necessarily think it's a good decision that she just up and took the child without permission. So it's stuff like that forms the core of, like, we can say, like, yeah, murder's bad, but then you get this dude, he's maybe out with a friend, and he thinks he's defending him, and he shoots and kills some people in defense. Is that right or wrong? And it's just like, I think it's a little bit of both, but in that, really measuring right and wrong, and I think this is the core of what it means, like the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, is that we still don't know what good and evil is. Even though we've been privy to understand there is good and evil, that wisdom, like, and that's what the tree of life versus the tree of good and evil. Tree of life was given to us freely. Tree of good and evil was something we took without God's permission, and so we then tried to declare something good that God said was bad, or we declare something bad that God said is good.
Right.
And in that forms the crux of why we're evil.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the capacity to be good. We have the capacity to do good. We don't have the capacity to be good in the same sense that God is.
Right.
And there's a lot to unpack there, but
well, would you say a part of that is the fact that we just can't see the end goal of every person and everything? We're kind of limited to our only view, right? What was that?
It's lightning.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
I definitely think our finite knowledge of the universe plays into that.
Like, the only experience you have is your own personal experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And
so like, you were using an example of you were out with a friend, right? You're out with a friend, and something happens, and you defend your friend. Somebody gets hurt or killed in the process. Who's right? Whereas, if you would have known that the dude attacking you, like, we'll twist it a little bit more. The dude attacking you needed money because he lost his job, and his wife and kid are going to be on the street. And, like, let's say he was coming after you for money, and you didn't give it, and instead you were armed and you shot him, and it was a done deal. And you know what I mean? You didn't know that.
But he also, like, in him trying to preserve his own life, he threatened other people's lives.
Right.
And we have a certain list of human rights that we base our laws on. But even that gets
complicated.
Fuzzy. It gets complicated.
Yeah.
and like
it gets complicated in a world where provisions aren't going to be made all most of the time, or some of the time. Like, if you're under God's grace, like if we're thinking, the new heavens and the new earth.
Yeah, I mean, so that's what
covered.
Paul talks about. Paul talks about the law versus the law of grace. You picked up that lightning in your guitar, I think, or
did you reflect off the?
Yeah, or no, I think it like the electric signal.
You think so?
Yeah. I guitars are capable. Anyway, sorry. So Paul talks about the law of grace and the law.
Yeah.
And this was always really complicated to me because he's like, the law is good, but the law is incomplete for salvation. It can only lead to death. And it's like, okay, the law is good, but it can only lead to death. And so he says, so we live under the new law that Christ gave, the law of grace.
Right.
And it's weird to say the law of grace, but law really means teaching, direction, wisdom. And the idea being that we can't adhere to the law. The law simply tells us how we can be wrong. And so a lot of people are like, okay, the law makes people good. It's like, no, the law convicts guilty people.
Right.
The law lets you know you're guilty. It does not allow you to be good.
Yeah.
What grace then does is says, hey, you broke this law.
Yeah.
But we're going to pay for it, even though we don't deserve to pay for it, and you don't deserve us paying for it.
Right.
And so, and
that's Christ.
And that's a wild, that's a wild concept because you get something you don't deserve.
Well, that's why I always tell people when they ask me about faith, I say it's the one that makes the most sense. When you look at life and what the kind of world we live in, it's the only one that gives you a plausible answer to things, because anybody can say, like, a friend of mine came with me and started showing me this Taoism book that he got. And I was reading it, and I'm like, yeah, this is all
Taoism?
Taoism,
okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was thinking like Darwinism.
Taoism,
yeah.
So he's showing me this, that, or the other thing, and I'm reading it. And I mean, a lot of it was just like, yeah, I get it.
A lot of it makes sense.
But again, but if you're looking for a root, like, what is the meaning behind this? Like, I'm reading these words, and that's kind of like my beef with hippies and stuff like that. Like, if I meet someone that's really into the earth and, this and that and being one with this, and it's like, a lot of these things sound really nice, but, it doesn't give you an answer for the kind of world we live in.
No.
And it doesn't explain, like I mentioned earlier, good and evil.
Yeah.
But to tie it all in, like you painted it great. So I'm just going to let you do that but to tie it all into the song I wrote, the whole point of the song was to let you know, look, actions don't really mean a thing. One of the conversations I had with my dad was he just couldn't understand that there's this guy, he doesn't want anything to do with church, doesn't want anything to do with God, but he tips the waitresses at the bar, and he makes sure that everybody is happy, and all this stuff, right?
There's a country song about that too.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. I mean, I'm sure there is. But he likes to, do all this nice stuff. And he's like, and they do this, and he'll help anybody and all this stuff. And I said, yeah, but he isn't, if you look at things as a whole in this world, I guess.
It's hard to say.
There's still evil things going on, like it, and you need to think in terms of, yes, he's a good guy and he's doing good things, but is he acknowledging that
Yeah.
There's a lot of crap going on for what reason? And you need to think, that's when you got to start thinking deep. And when you start thinking in terms of like, why is there all this crap going on? That should start leading you down a hole of like, well, is there something bigger going on here? You know, there's...
And that's a hard one because
Yeah.
one thing the world does not like is at the very core, you know, it has the, I can't remember. I think it's the rich man. Rich man comes up to Jesus. He says,
Right.
Lord, how may I get salvation? And
Yeah.
God's like, well, have you adhered to the law? And the man's like, yes, I've adhered to the law.
Yeah.
And at first you're like, okay, no, you have not adhered to the law. But let's say, for instance, he had adhered to the law.
Yeah.
And Jesus is like, okay. He doesn't even bother deflecting that comment.
Yeah.
He doesn't bother saying,
Doesn't
you have not adhered to the law, you liar, or whatever. You've probably done something like you've
The next
had
thing
this
he
white
says,
lie.
though,
The
is
next
great,
lie,
right?
he's like, okay, great. Sell all you have and come follow me. And the man's like, oh, well, we get the feeling that he refused to sell his stuff because that's what it's pointing towards. It doesn't actually say what he did.
Yeah.
Point being, the man was still in love with everything else in this world and not God.
Right.
And that's a hard one because, I mean, on the one hand, people act as an individual.
Right.
And like our life was given for our own purposes. But the whole universe was created for God, through God, and by God.
Yeah.
And, you know, and we can argue.
Which is a beautiful thing.
It's beautiful and scary, though.
On a tangent, though, of that, is that it doesn't matter if you're doing great in this life or you got a lot of bad luck. You're still... The whole salvation thing is separate from that, you know?
Oh, yeah, no. You were made by God, and he knows
And then
you.
that kind of like when you got this whole prosperity gospel thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, you know, you're in trouble with all these people for some of the things you said and everything. Well, why don't you go talk to Paul about that? You know? Obviously, you don't know what you're talking about. Why don't you go talk to Paul about that one? Yeah, I mean, and for those listening that may not know, Paul was pretty much in prison most of his life because at the time the message he was preaching was not popular amongst Roman stuff.
It was actually mostly unpopular amongst Jews
and the Jews. So you had a double whammy. Rome wasn't happy with it.
Jews
were not happy with it.
Roman law allowed him to get further than Jewish law would have.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Like he's in and out of prison.
Yeah.
You know, for the sake of the gospel. And you know, there's a country song, and it's the same country song you were talking about. He's like, you know, preacher, didn't you see I put a 20 in the plate last Sunday? And you know, one of the lines is we all want to go to heaven, but no one wants to go right now. And I think in that really represents the world's fatal flaw, absolute fatal flaw, that innocent statement. Because Aaron's like, I want to go to heaven, but I don't want to go right now. And what you get when you read the Bible is, one, we poorly understand what heaven is. Two, you know, the idea that, you know, and I think it's a different song, but, you know, go visit grandpa for a day in heaven and then come back to earth. It's like, I think if you really understood what heaven, the new creation, resurrection was, you wouldn't go for 5 minutes and then want to come back to earth. You would go there and your eyes would be so open to a new understanding, new lights, new colors, everything, that you would come back to the earth and it would be like living in the shadows. Like you were living as a shadow of yourself. And I think that's what Hebrews describes. I think it's in Hebrews. But it mentions like we are a shadow of what's to come.
Yeah.
And so and in that, I think it's because we have loved the world more than we have loved the Creator. And to sit here and say, okay, well, I love the world, but the Creator, you know, I have conflicts with him. That's the same thing as saying like, okay, I love this piece of art, but I don't really care for the artist.
Right.
you know, and
Right.
when the art is a reflection of the artist,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, one of my things that I tell somebody that might be coming from more of a hippie kind of a view on things is I tell them, well, you know, what you see here is really pathetic. And that tree that you might love, or these crystal rocks that you're holding and everything, they're really nothing compared. Because there was and I remember I mentioned this in a speech I wrote one time. What's the scripture verse where it's talking about how just nature is moaning and crying for the day to be revived again?
All of creation is is groaning for the groaning in pain, like a I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, to be revived again, technically, and I think that
because it was set to futility. You know, that's a big word,
right.
futility.
And I think that a lot of these people that are trying to see good and that sit around and say, hey, you know, we just try your best. You're not looking at things broad or big enough, I guess is what it comes down to. Yeah. You know, like this is really sad. It's really sad, man. And all you got to do, you can sit there and think as many happy thoughts as you want, and you can sit and, you know, you can do meditation, you can do, you know, solemn, whatever it is. I do things that, you know, kind of lift my spirits up. That's one of them's like lifting weights, you know, playing guitar. But, you know, my big thing is my faith, because if I didn't have that, there'd be no point. And it's really to sit around and be okay with what you're seeing and trying to make light of what you're seeing is really just weird. And it can be anything. It can be nature. It can be political leaders. It can be human people just living, you know. It's just,
I mean, I kind of see it like, you know, if you're up before dawn and you're driving outside and there's nothing, everything's just dark.
Yeah.
It's there. You can still interact with it. You can touch it. But once the sun comes up and it starts shedding light on everything, you see the whole new world in a way that when you were in the darkness, it's the same world. But with that light on it, has colors, has definition, has beauty, has purpose, has direction. You know.
Yeah. But on that tangent, you know, I had that song that was kind of heavy. Mm-hmm. But the song that got the most listens was the cover I did of the Godfather theme. Yeah.
That was a good cover. That was a good cover. I get that.
But, you know, hey, that's all right. You know, and I don't expect everybody to understand that kind of a tune anyway, because that's a deep one. And it's kind of tough to. Basically, the song is dumping you right in the trenches. You know, you're just kind of like right there, and a lot of people might listen and be like, "Whoa, this is."
It's a little bit heavy for a Monday morning. I haven't had my coffee yet. Don't tell me I'm dying. Yeah. That's always funny in those commercials. May increase your risk of death. It's like greater than 100%.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So.
Nice.
Well,
yeah, we should wrap this up, and I didn't even get to show you what I want to show you, but it's very similar to what we were talking about. So the next episode is us recapping about music, people, different tastes, that sort of thing, because I got to show you.
Okay.
This song.
You should write that down afterwards.
Yeah, I will. Well, I mean, it was a good chunk of our stuff. Was talking about flavors of music. We talked about Beethoven, Debussy, and all that. So I'll remember that.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, man.
So,
you want to close with music? You want to just close?
We'll just close.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll just close.
Yeah, it's kind of late.
Everybody's good with that.
Yeah.
All right, we'll have more tunes next time.
Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah. There was some in and out, so we appreciate it. All right. Peace out, everybody. We are off.